Alrighty. Welcome back, television fans. Big Al back again. It's Saturday, July 19th, 2025, and welcome to episode number 14 of Television Station History, as we'll be taking a look at the last of the major television stations in the New York tri-state area. And in this episode, we'll be focusing on WFUT-DT. So with that, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. And here we go with the history of WFUT-DT. WFUT-DT, Channel 68, is a television station licensed to Newark, New Jersey, serving as the Unimas outlet for the New York City area. WFUT-DT is owned and operated by Televisa Univision, alongside Paterson, New Jersey licensed Univision station WXTV-DT, Channel 41. The two stations share studios on Frank W. Bird Boulevard in Teaneck, New Jersey, and Channel 68's transmitter facilities are at the top of the Empire State Building in Midtown Manhattan. The programming of both stations and the True Crime Network is simulcast to Long Island and Southern Connecticut from WFTY-DT Channel 67, broadcasting from Middle Island, New York. Now here are the specs on WFUT-DT. Newark, New Jersey, New York, New York. The station broadcasts on Virtual Channel 68 and on RF Digital Channel 26, which is shared with its sister station WXTV. Their on-air brand is Unimas Nueva York. I'll tell you about the sub-channels towards the end of the rundown. The station is owned by Televisa Univision and licensed by Univision New York LLC, which also owns television stations WFTY-DT Channel 67, Univision co-flagship WXTV-DT Channel 41, and radio stations WADO AM and WXNY FM. Channel 68 signed on the air on September 29, 1974 as WBTB-TV. They would become WTVG in 1977, WWHT in 1979, WHSE-TV in 1987. Hello again, Billy Ball. And since 2001, they've identified in some way, shape, or form as WFUT. They added the TV suffix in 2004 and then traded it in 2009 with the DT suffix. The station previously aired on UHF Analog Channel 68 from its beginning in 1974 until the digital transition of 2009. The station's digital signal aired on UHF Channel 53 from 1999 to 2009, on Channel 30 from 2009 to 2019, and has been broadcasting its digital signal over Channel 26 since 2019. The station began as an English language independent station from 1974 to 1986. Then it was affiliated with the Wometco Home Theater from 1977 to 1985. FNN, the Financial News Network, from 1981 to 1983. The Home Shopping Network from 1986 to 2001. And the American Independent Network, briefly from 2001 to 2002. Univision would then purchase the station in 2002. That year, they would launch Univision's sister network, Telefutura, which would later become Unimas. And that's what the call sign meaning of the station is for. WFUT-DT is licensed by the Federal Communications Commission. They broadcast at an effective radiated power of 215 kilowatts from its 1,302-foot tower atop the Empire State Building. Their website is www.univision.com/Unimas. Channel 68 was originally awarded to Walter Reed in 1970 as part of what had initially been an attempt to revive WRTV, a dead UHF station of the mid-1950s broadcasting from Ashbury Park. The station was sold to Blonder Tongue Laboratories and began broadcasting as WBTB-TV on September 29, 1974. It offered a limited amount of New Jersey-specific programming, but ran out of money after 90 days. The station returned on September 28, 1975, this time as a specialist outlet offering financial, foreign language, and children's programming. The station was the first broadcast outlet of the Uncle Floyd Show, a local children's program that gained a cult following in the New York metro area. After conglomerate Wometco Enterprises reached a deal to become Channel 68's majority owner on March 1, 1977, WBTV became the first station in the United States at the time to broadcast subscription television programming to paying users. When Wometco closed on the transaction, the station changed its call sign to WTVG and then WWHT, and the subscription service took the name Wometco Home Theater, or WHT, which provided first-run movies and New York sports programming to households in areas unserved by cable. Its reach was expanded in 1980 when WHT began appearing on Channel 67, then at the time known as WSNL-TV. Wometco acquired that station outright in 1981, and at its peak, WHT served more than 111,000 subscribers and was the fourth largest subscription television system in the country. The death of Wometco majority owner Mitchell Wolfson in 1983 triggered a leveraged buyout of Kohlberg Kravis Roberts, or KKR. As subscriptions declined due to rising cable penetration, Wometco sold off the WHT business but kept channels 68 and 67, which began broadcasting a music video service known as U68 on June 1, 1985. U68 was a locally programmed competitor to MTV with a more eclectic mix of music. The stations were put on the market in December 1985 because KKR executed a second leveraged buyout, this time of Storer Communications, and chose to retain Storer's cable systems in northern New Jersey and Connecticut over WWHT and WSNL-TV. The two stations were sold to the Home Shopping Network as part of its foray into broadcasting. Renamed WHSE and WHSI respectively, they would broadcast home shopping programming for the next 15 years. While an attempt by company owner Barry Diller to convert the stations to general entertainment independence was slated as late as 2000, Diller ultimately sold WHSE and WHSI as well as other USA broadcasting stations to Univision in 2001. Many of these stations formed the backbone of Telefutura, now known as Unimas, which would launch in July 2002, at which time WHSE and WHSI would become WFUT and WFTY respectively. Early years, prehistory. In August 1966, two groups applied for Channel 68 in Newark, New Jersey, which they hoped to telecast from the Empire State Building in New York City. One application came from Clifton S. Green, a businessman from Brooklyn, while the other came from Atlantic Video Corporation, owned by the Walter Reed Sterling chain of movie theaters. Their proposals to use the Empire State Building were contested by WPIX and the Association of Maximum Service Telecasters, being too close to the allotment of Channel 67 to Patchogue, New York, and circumventing the need to serve Newark, not New York. The Reed application was unique in that it was initially filed as a modification of a construction permit for Reed's long-dead WRTV Channel 58 in Ashbury Park. WPIX also contended that the relocated Channel 68 facility would not serve Monmouth or Ocean counties in New Jersey. The next year, Walter Reed amended its application to specify a tower in West Orange, New Jersey, instead of the Empire State Building. In 1969, the Commission deleted WRTV and its call letters, proceeding to consider the Newark modification as a request for a construction permit. Hi Anna, how are you? Reed was awarded the Channel 68 construction permit in March 1970. The Reed organization promised that the new station, which it intended to retake the WRTV call sign, would be a commercial general market UHF station, the first such station not to primarily program for ethnic communities in the New York metro area. The WRTV call letters never made it to Newark. What's up, Chad? McGraw-Hill applied for them to be used to rename WFBM-TV, which is the ABC station in Indianapolis, which it was acquiring from Time Life in 1971. The new designation began use in Indianapolis on June 2nd, 1972. WBTB-TV, Blonder Tongue ownership. In 1972, Atlantic Video agreed to sell Channel 68's construction permit designated as WWRO to the Blonder Tongue Broadcasting Corporation, a division of Old Bridge Township, New Jersey-based Blonder Tongue Laboratories. Blonder Tongue's ambition for Channel 68 was to use it as the first station to test its recently approved BT Vision subscription television service, or technology rather, which would beam otherwise scrambled pictures into the homes of paying subscribers with decoders. Isaac Blonder, a Blonder Tongue executive, cited the potential for STV to acquire the rights to first-run movies and entertainment programs previously unavailable over conventional ad-supported television, and he believed his service would eventually have more than 500,000 subscribers in the New York area. Blonder Tongue obtained FCC approval to acquire Channel 68 in August, leaving it the task to build the station, which was given a new call sign, WBTB-TV. Immediate development of the station was halted because of a faltering stock market. Blonder Tongue applied in 1973 for approval to build a 400-foot tower for the station in the Eagle Rock Reservation in West Orange, New Jersey. The station struggled to convince Essex County officials who had previously advocated against the use of parkland for towers. West Orange officials who had recently passed more stringent ordinances, and the public. This greatly frustrated Blonder, who told the Home News, "Down with environmentalists. All they know is the unintelligent use of nature. Ban anything new. That's all they care about." The tower was constructed, but the West Orange Borough Council sued its owner for creating visual pollution, and a case soon settled. WBTB-TV officially began broadcasting on September 29, 1974. The station would initially operate in evening hours with free ad-supported programming and initiate subscription service at a later date, though it would also test the BT Vision system outside of regular programming. The first studios were a converted two-story house in West Orange. The living room became a studio. The control room occupied the former kitchen, and upstairs bedrooms were turned into offices. The initial lineup included children's programming, a half-hour New Jersey newscast, and a nightly public affairs program, and old Hopalong Cassidy films and other classic shows. The station had a local children's show, The Uncle Floyd Show, on Saturdays. This weekly live program grew out of a public access cable series in Pompton Lakes. The station left the air on December 27th, telling the FCC that it needed to resolve technical and financial difficulties before returning to the air. In March 1975, Blonder testified at a New Jersey State Senate committee hearing about the station's lack of TV news coverage, that Channel 68 ceased broadcasting because it lacked advertisers and because local businesses were actively against supporting the new television station. 9 months after leaving the air, WBTB-TV returned on September 28, 1975. This time, it adopted a format dominated by specialty programs. During the day, the station offered daytime financial news coverage, which was produced by Eugene Inger. Inger provided financial support in exchange for shares in Blonder Tongue Broadcasting and hosted the Financial Report. At night, it offers shows in a variety of foreign languages, the Christian show, the PTL Club, and shows on New York Entertainment and the Grand Ole Opry. Uncle Floyd would return to Channel 68, this time as a live half-hour, aired twice a week. Right now, my favorite NFL player, Hunter, is Saquon Barkley. Wabetco ownership. Launch of Wameco Home Theater. In April 1976, Wameco Enterprises, a Florida-based media conglomerate that offered, or rather owned, television stations in Florida, North Carolina, and Washington State, as well as movie theaters and cable systems in New Jersey and elsewhere, agreed to buy 80% of Channel 68 in exchange for paying $1.5 million of its debts. Wameco would proceed with the development of subscription television on Channel 68 using Blonder Tongue equipment. Wameco planned to program the station's ad-supported broadcast day with shows for children. With Wameco's backing, WBTB sent out its first subscription television programs using the BT Vision system on March 1st, 1977. Some 200 families in South Orange served as the pilot market for the subscription service, which initially broadcast 2 movies a night for $12.95 a month. The films had ceased running in theaters but had yet to premiere on network television. The FCC granted Wameco approval to acquire the majority stake in July 1977. However, it gave the company 2 years to sell off the New Jersey cable systems, as at the time, cross-ownership of broadcast stations and cable systems in the same areas were not permitted. At the time, Wameco took over operation of WBTV and the BT Vision service, technical issues at Channel 68 had kept the service from expanding beyond South Orange. It only had 500 subscribers. The new owners appointed the assistant general manager of WTVJ, Wameco's television station in Miami, to run the operation. The station changed its call sign to WTVG on July 29, 1977. BT Vision then changed its name to Wameco Home Theater, or WHT. Over the next several years, Wameco expanded the availability of WHT community by community, focusing on areas not already served by cable systems. Wameco launched a promotional push for its service in 1978. That year, the station built a translator on Channel 60 atop the World Trade Center, rebroadcasting its signal into New York City, and it added 800 subscribers a week. By March 1979, it had nearly 40,000 subscribers, and primarily in parts of New Jersey and the New York City boroughs of Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island. In addition to adding a matinee movie, it bolstered the programming offering in 1979 by adding sports broadcasts from Sports Channel New York, a regional cable service. This brought the New York Mets, New York Yankees, New York Islanders, and New Jersey Nets to WHT. By this time, the monthly service charge had increased to $17. WHT's subscriber base had grown to 72,000 by year's end. Beyond WHT, Channel 68 continued its ad-supported programming, or broadcasting. The station produced regular programs on senior citizens and the black community, as well as a 15-minute New Jersey news roundup. It tried its hand at all-night programming after WHT concluded with the short-lived The All Night Show. The largest attraction continued to be children's shows. Ken Tashoff, who took over the station as general manager in 1979, claimed that children were more likely to watch a UHF station than their parents were. In an early 1979 study by Arbitron, WTVG garnered its first ratings point in the late afternoons when it aired said shows. The Uncle Floyd Show began to attract a cult following. The station had grown enough to merit the addition of a trailer next to the studio house to accommodate more offices. To identify itself with the WHT service, WTVG would change its call sign to WWHT on July 16, 1979. The WTVG call letters presently are being used on the ABC-affiliated television station in Toledo, Ohio. And King Caesar is in the house. What is poppin', my man? Yes, sir, I can't wait for the NFL. Can't wait to watch football on this new TV that I've had for not 6 weeks, but rather 2 weeks. I just bought the thing. Channel 68 adds 67. Long Island's only commercial TV station, WSNL-TV, Channel 67, returned to the air in December 1979 after a silence lasting more than 4 years. The station had been built in 1973 as a full-time commercial independent station for Long Island, but was a financial failure. It returned to the air after Can West Capital Group paid off all of its debts in exchange for the right to broadcast STV programming from WSNL-TV. Concerned that a service reaching just Long Island might not be viable, Cam West approached Wometco. In January 1980, the two companies formed a joint venture to bring Wometco Home Theater to Long Island over Channel 67. The station began airing Wometco Home Theater that June and returning to the air from a fire. The FCC approved of Wometco acquiring WSNL-TV in November 1980. Because channels 67 and 68 had overlapping signals, Wometco would operate WSNL-TV as a simulcast of WWHT with up to 4.5 hours a week of its own programming. Wometco closed on the purchase in January 1981, and in June of that year, it brought out Cam West's interest in the joint venture and became the sole owner of WSNL, while sharing ownership of WWHT with Blonder Tongue. Earlier that year, the largest possible competitive threat to Wometco Home Theater, a proposed on-TV system on WNJU-TV, Channel 47, dissipated when the owner, Chartwell Communications, opted against competing with WHT. On November 30th, 1981, channels 68 and 67 began airing daytime programming from the new Financial News Network between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. With the extended reach of WHT, the service boasted 111,200 subscribers in June of 1982, making it the fourth largest subscription television operation in the country, behind the on-TV operations in Los Angeles and Chicago, and the Select TV operation in Los Angeles. This year was the peak for subscription operation as the early 1980s recession deepened and cable systems continued building out in areas served by STV. In addition, beginning in 1981, Wometco Home Theater was seen on WRBV-TV Channel 65 in southern New Jersey and the Philadelphia area. That channel is now a Univision-owned station, and where at one point it claimed to have more than 20,000 subscribers before closing down in November of 1984. WWHT and WSNL began broadcasting WHT programming 20 hours a day on March 1st, 1983, and discontinued all ad-supported telecasting, including FNN and Uncle Floyd. They were able to do so because the FCC had abolished the so-called 28-hour rule, which required stations to provide a minimum of, on average, 4 hours a day of non-subscription programming. In June 1982, The Uncle Floyd Show returned to television on the New Jersey network later in 1983. KKR buyout of Wometco. Mitchell Wolfson, the founder of Wometco, died of a heart attack on January 28, 1983. He left the company with no clear succession plan, and no one was designated as a succeeding chairman. In fact, Wolfson was the largest stockholder in Wometco at the time of his death. After approving several measures in a shareholders meeting designed to prevent a hostile takeover, the Wolfson family and Wometco board sold the company to merchant banker Kohlberg Kravis Roberts and Company, or KKR, on September 21, 1983, in a $1 billion leverage buyout, the largest in history at the time. While Wometco still existed after the buyout was completed on April 13, 1984, the company was taken private and split into two entities. One based around the television station licenses and Wometco Home Theater, and the second centered around the theater chain, Miami Seaquarium Bottling and cable divisions. With rapidly advancing cable and declining subscriptions, KKR began the process of ending the subscription television era of both WWHT and WSNL. On November 1st, 1984, WMETCO ceased programming the service and instead began passing through movies from Select TV at the time. It still counted some 80,000 subscribers. It sold the WHT service to Pay TV of Greater New York. That company renamed itself Cooper Wireless Cable and began broadcasting from the Channel 60 translator on the World Trade Center. Though in doing so, it lost subscribers who could not receive the low power signal from the World Trade Center. Though the stations continued to run WHT in the interim, KKR contemplated reformatting WWHT and WSNL as general entertainment independents with syndicated reruns. In April 1985, KKR executed another leverage buyout, this one of Storer Communications, then facing a shareholder revolt and a hostile takeover attempt by Comcast. The deal was completed in December 1985. However, approval by the FCC was contingent on KKR divesting either Storer's cable systems in northern New Jersey and Connecticut, serving 195,000 subscribers, or WWHT and WSNL within 18 months to satisfy cross-ownership rules. While Storer and WMETCO remained nominally separate companies, the FCC recognized KKR as the primary owner of both and forced it to make a number of station or system divestitures. Storer already had announced that it would keep the cable systems over WWHT and WSNL. U68. With the end of WHT programming, channels 68 and 67 switched to a music video format known as U68 on June 1st, 1985. The new format came together in just 10 days and originally broadcast for 12 hours a day. In the morning hours, WWHT and WSNL continued to offer non-video religious and community fair shows. U68 touted its format as specifically programmed for the New York market in contrast to the national cable service MTV. It carved out time to air videos by local acts. It offered R&B, pop, and heavy metal music in day parts, as well as music news breaks, which Uncle Floyd returned to Channel 68 to co-host. It had a broader format than MTV, with more urban, contemporary, and metal music. Program director Steve Leeds called it all over the place musically. As a music video station and not merely a program, it was subject to the 6-month exclusivity that MTV demanded from some record labels for new titles. At the end of 1985, it extended to begin late-night broadcasting to 1 or 2 a.m. 6 nights a week. The service also produced a music video for Put That Head Out by rap artist Funkmaster Wizard Wiz. Home Shopping and Telefutura/Unimas. On August 4th, 1986, HSN, the Home Shopping Network, announced that it would enter the broadcast television business by buying 3 stations and 2 acquisitions. WWHT and WSNL TV, as well as the Boston area's V66, WVJV, which is a station with a similar format to U68. The three stations went for $46 million. The stations would then carry the newly established Home Shopping Network 2 service, which offered a more upscale assortment of products than the existing HSN. News that U68 was likely on its way out to make way for home shopping programming led Pablo Guzman in the New York Daily News to praise the quality service, in quotation marks, that it provided to homes without cable in spite of MTV's restrictions and other challenges, and his colleague Jim Farber to laud its quote-unquote innovative genre-bursting programming and no creepy VJs. On October 6, 1986, HSN closed on the WWHT-WSNL deal and began programming both stations with home shopping. 5 production employees lost their jobs with the transition to home shopping, and HSN also changed the station's call letters to WHSE and WHSI respectively, effective January 23, 1987. The purchase of the New York and Boston stations started a shopping spree for HSN. By January 1987, it had acquired stations serving Baltimore and Washington, D.C., Chicago, Cleveland, Houston, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. It later acquired stations in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Miami, and Tampa Bay markets, giving it 12 stations and making it the 5th largest station owner by reach in the country as of 1992, behind the Big Three networks and Tribune Broadcasting. That year, HSN spun off the 12 stations into a new company, Silver King Broadcasting. A joint venture led by Barry Diller bought the Silver King stations in 1996, remaining the group USA Broadcasting. As late as 2000, the company promised to bring the City Vision General Entertainment independent format that USA Broadcasting was slowly rolling out in its portfolio to New York and Los Angeles. Cablevision, or rather City Vision, had made it to 4 cities, but it proved costly to operate and was a ratings disappointment outside of live sports. USA Station Group Partnership of New Jersey, the licensee of WHSE, registered a trademark on WORX as a future call sign in October 2000. After discussions for a joint venture with ABC fell apart, the USA Broadcasting stations were sold to Univision for $1.1 billion in a deal announced in December 2000. The USA Univision deal created 7 new duopolies, including the pairing of WHSE and WHSI with Univision's WXTV Channel 41. In the immediate aftermath of the September 11th attacks of 2001, Channel 68 temporarily simulcast WABC TV Channel 7, which had been broadcasting from the World Trade Center. It was later joined by Channel 67. The USA... Oh, I'm reading the wrong paragraph. The station ceased broadcasting HSN on October 1st, 2001, and temporarily switched to the American Independent Network. Univision used most of the stations it acquired by USA Broadcasting to launch a second network, Telefutura, which debuted on January 14, 2002. The stations adopted new WFUT and WFTY call letters respectively, and then Telefutura would be rebranded as the present Unimas in 2013. In 2008, Univision experimented with adding 7 a.m. local morning newscasts to 4 of its Telefutura stations including channels 68 and 67 in New York. This would continue through at least 2014. Technical information and subchannels. All right. So again, WFUT and WXTV both share the same RF channel. So all of their offerings are here. We'll look at the 3 subchannels of WFUT. On 68.1 at 720p HD and a 16:9 aspect ratio is Unimas, branded on air as Unimas Nueva York. On 68.2 in 480i high definition and a 16:9 aspect ratio is the True Crime Network, seen on WFTV-DT channel 67. On 68.3 in 480i high definition and a 4:3 aspect ratio is Get TV, or just known as Get. And then WXTV operates 3 subchannels of their own and 2 additional subchannels from another station. On 41.1 in 720p HD, 16:9 aspect ratio is Univision. 41.2 broadcasting in 480i HD and a 16:9 aspect ratio is Bounce TV. 41.3 also broadcasting in 480i high definition and a 16:9 aspect ratio are infomercials. And then you have 2 additional subchannels, both from WPIX, that can be found on channel 41 spectrum. 11.2 and 11.4, both in 480i HD with a 4:3 aspect ratio, is Antenna TV from WPIX DT2 and Rewind TV from WPIX DT4. Those 2 channels, as well as the infomercials on 41.3, are broadcast with MPEG-4 video. Analog to digital conversion. WFUT would end its regular programming on its analog signal across UHF channel 68 on June 12, 2009 as part of the federally mandated transition from analog to digital television. The station relocated its digital signal to channel 30 using virtual channel 68. In the incentive auction, WXTV's spectrum was sold for $198,965,211, and the station's license was consolidated onto one channel with co-owned WFUT. WFUT and WXTV would relocate its signal to from channel 30 to channel 26 on April 1st, 2019, as a result of the 2016 United States wireless spectrum auction. And that is a look at the history of WFUT-DT and the major television stations across New York City. Episode 15 is coming up on Monday, and we will be discussing the first of the Los Angeles stations, KCBS TV. That'll be dropping on Monday, so join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching. And I will see you for episode 15, a television station history from a new market. Peace out.